Good morning, students, and welcome to the class of English. And in this fourth part of the video for the chapter Evans tries an O level, I am continuing ahead. In the previous videos, children, I told you that Evans, the jailbreak, as popularly known, wanted to give German O level examinations, and for which all the preparations had been done. The governor was ready, the prison officers Jackson and Stephens were ready, and the invigilator, the McClary, Reverend S. McClary, was already there. And then Evans just took the examination of German O level. At near 11:22 a.m., exam was over. So Jackson shouted along the corridor to Stephens. The governor wanted to speak with him. Hurry, man! Stephens picked up the phone apprehensively and listened to the rapidly spoken words. Stephen himself was to accompany McClary to the main prison gates. Understood? Stephens personally was to make absolutely sure that the door was locked in events after McClary had left the cell. Understood? Understood. The children at 11:20 a.m. Jackson shouted along the corridor to Stephens. Actually, the governor wanted to speak with him. Stephens picked up the phone and listened to the rapidly spoken orders. Stephens himself was to accompany McClary to the main prison gates. And he was to make absolutely sure that the door behind was locked on Evans after McClary had left the cell. At 11:25 a.m., the governor heard the final exchanges. McClary, stop writing, please. Silence. Put your sheets in order and see they are correctly numbered. Silence. Scrapping of chairs and tables. Thank you very much, sir. All right. Was it? Not too bad. Good. Mr. Stephens, very loud. The governor heard the door clang for the last time. The examination was over. How did he get on, do you think? Asked Stephens as he walked beside McClary to the main gates. Acha, I cannot think he has distinguished himself, I'm afraid. His Scots accent seemed broader than ever, and his long black overcoat, reaching almost to his knees, fostered the illusion that he had suddenly grown slimmer. So, children, at around 11:25 a.m., the governor heard the final exchanges. Final exchanges means this discussion between McClary and Evans, where McClary is ordering Evans to collect the seats, put them in order. You know what happened later on, that McClary was escorted to the gates by Stephens, and one very typical thing was noticed. Stephens walked beside McClary to the main gates, and his long black overcoat encouraged the illusion that he had suddenly grown slimmer. And his Scottish accent has also changed. Is it possible for a person to become slim in just 3 hours? I think impossible. And even when he is just invigilating the examination, I don't think it happens. Maybe, children, it was some kind of hidden plan, because the change in Scottish accent and the body growing slimmer. So it gives a certain kind of hint. Stephens felt pleased that the governor had asked him and not the Jackson to see McClary off the premises. And all in all, the morning had gone pretty well, but something stopped him from making his way directly to the canteen for a belated cup of coffee. He wanted to take just one last look at Evans. It was like a program he had seen on TV about a woman who could never really convince herself that she had locked the front door when she had gone to bed. Often she had got up 12, 15, sometimes 20 times to check the bolt. So, children, the Stephens was happy that the governor had asked him and not Jackson to see McClary off the premises, to see off the McClary from the premises. And the morning was certainly very well. Nothing wrong had happened during the examination. So he re-entered Deaving and made his way along to Evans's cell and opened the peephole once more. Oh no! Christ, no! There sprawled back in Evans' chair was a man. For a semi-second, Stephen thought it must be Evans, a grey regulation blanket slipping from his shoulders. The front of his closely cropped, irregularly tufted hair awash with fierce red blood, which had dripped already through the small black beard, and was even now spreading horribly over the white clerical collar and down into the black clerical front. So in the morning everything was fine, but after the exit of McClary, when he entered Deaving and opened the peephole of Evans's cell, he saw a man who was totally drenched with blood because the front of his closely cropped, irregularly tufted hair was covered with red blood. And a small black beard, it was also covered with blood. Now it was spreading over the white clerical collar and down to the black clerical front. So the person was totally dripped with blood. Stephen shouted wildly for Jackson, and the words appeared to penetrate the curtain of blood that veiled McClary's ears, for the minister's hand felt feebly for a handkerchief from his pocket and held it to his bleeding head, the blood seeping slowly through the white linen. He gave a long, low moan and tried to speak, but his voice trailed away, and by the time Jackson had arrived and dispatched Stephens to ring the police and the ambulance, the handkerchief was a sticky, squelchy wash of cloth. McClary slowly raised himself, his face twisted tightly with pain. "Don't worry about the ambulance, man. I'm alright. I'm alright. Get the police. Get the police. I know where." He closed his eyes, and another drip of blood splashed like a huge red raindrop of the wooden floor. His hand felt along the table, found the German question paper, and grasped it tightly into his blood-stained hand. "Get the governor. I know where Evans." So, children, Stephens shouted for Jackson, and the words penetrated McClary's ears. He felt for his handkerchief, means he searched for his handkerchief and held it to his bleeding head because his head was bleeding. He gave a low moaning sound and tried to speak, but his voice became gradually quieter and weaker and then stopped. Police and ambulance were called in. McClary slowly raised himself, and he didn't forget to grab the German question paper from the table. He told Jackson to get the governor. He claimed to know where Evans was. So McClary said that he knows where Evans is, where he has run away. And he didn't forget to grab the German question paper. Children, person is bleeding badly. He is hit on the head. Sometimes it becomes that the person becomes unconscious, but this person is so much in his senses that he didn't forget to collect the German question paper from the table. And he asked for the governor. Almost immediately, sirens were sounding. Prison officers barked orders. Puzzled prisoners pushed their way along the corridors. Doors were banged and bolted, and phones were ringing everywhere. And within a minute, McClary, with Jackson and Stephens supporting him on either side, his face now streaked and caked with drying blood, was greeted in the prison yard by the governor, perplexed and grim. "We must get you to the hospital immediately. I just don't. You have called the police?" Yes, they are on their way. But I'm all right. Look here." Awkwardly opened the German question paper and thrust it before the governor's face. It's there. Do you see what I mean?" The governor looked down and realized what McClary was trying to tell him. A photocopy sheet had been carefully and cleverly superimposed over the last, originally blank, page of the question paper. So, children, almost immediately, sirens were sounded, and the whole prison machinery went into the action. Jackson and Stephen supported McClary on either side because he was badly hurt. They met the governor in the prison yard. McClary drew the governor's attention to the German question paper. And then what was noticed that on the last page of the question paper, which was exactly originally blank, there was a superimposed, very carefully and cleverly superimposed photocopy sheet. Yes, see what they have done. Governor, yes, see. His voice trailed off again as the governor, dredging the layers of long learning, willed himself to translate the German text before him. Sie sollen Tim Son, Verabretten, Plan, Genau Folgen, der Wichtig, Jetpunkt ist 3 Minuten war Ende des Examination. And the translation of this line was, you must follow the plan already something. The vital point in time is 3 minutes before the end of the examination. But something, don't hit him too hard. Remember, he is a minister and don't overdo the Scots accent when. A fast approaching siren wailed to its crescendo. The great doors of the prison yard were pushed back and a white police car squealed to a jerky halt beside them. Detective Superintendent Carter swung himself out of the passenger seat and saluted the governor. What the hell's happening, sir? And turning to McClary, Christ, who's at him? So, children, the last page of the question paper was superimposed. And what was written there in German? The plan of action of running. Then the sirens were there, fast filling sirens, and after that, a police car then came to the doors of the prison. And Detective Superintendent Carter came out and greeted the governor. Before the governor could explain anything, McClary told the officer to go to Elsfield. Carter asked about what's happening in the jail, and he was shocked to see McClary being hit. But McClary cut across whatever explanation the governor might have given. Elsfield Way, officer. I know where he was. And he was breathing heavily and leaned for support against the side of the car, where the imprint of his hand was left in tarnished crimson. In bewilderment, Carter looked to the governor for guidance. What? Take him with you. If you think he'll be all right, he is the only one who seems to know what's happening. Carter opened the bug door and helped McClary inside, and within a few seconds, the car leaped away in a spurt of gravel. Elsfield Way, McClary had said, and there it was, tearing up at the governor from the last few lines of the German text. From Elsfield Way, drive to the Eddington roundabout, where, yes, of course, the examinations board was in Elsfield Way, and someone from the board must have been involved in the escape from the plan, the very beginning, the question paper itself, the correction slip. The children of the police car came there. Lieutenant Superintendent Carter greeted the governor. But before the governor could explain anything, McClary told the officer to go to Elsfield. Elsfield Way, where Evans was. So injured, McClary accompanied the police. Children, how, very cunningly and carefully, McClary made the void for himself. Means he made a place for himself in the police van because he just showed himself that he pretended himself that he knows where Evans was. So McClary was also taken. He accompanied the police. The governor read the last portion of the German text, and from where it was written, from Elsfield Way, drive to the Eddington roundabout. And what was the plan of action? Plan of action was first the question paper, where the quotes were written, and then the correction slip, which came there, and the crescent slip had everything. The governor turned to Jackson and Stephens. I don't need to tell you what's happened, do I? His voice sounded almost calm in its scathing contempt. And which one of you two morons was it who took Evans for a nice little walk to the main gates and waved him bye bye? It was me, sir, stammered Stephens. Just like you told me, sir, I could have sworn. What? Just like I told you, you say. What the hell? When you rang, sir, and told me to. When was that? The governor's voice was a weapless now. So the governor was angry at Jackson and Stephens. Evans had managed to conceal not only a false beard, a pair of spectacles, a dog collar, and all the rest of his clerical paraphernalia. He also had a weapon with which he hit McClary across the head. You know, sir, about 20 past 11, just before you, blithering idiot man, it wasn't me who rang you. Don't you realize? But what was the use? He had used the telephone at that time, but only to try, unsuccessfully, once more to get through to the examinations board. He shook his head in growing despair and turned on the senior prison officer. As for you, Jackson, how long have you been pretending you have got a brain? Well, I'll tell you. Something, Jackson. Your skull's empty. Absolutely empty. It was Jackson who had spent 2 hours in Evans's cell the previous evening, and it was Jackson who had confidently reported that there was nothing hidden away there. Nothing at all. And yet Evans had somehow managed to conceal not only a false beard, a pair of spectacles, a dog collar, and all the rest of his clerical paraphernalia, but also some sort of weapon, and with which he had given McClary such a terrible blow across the head. So, children, Governor was angry at Stephens because Evans had managed to conceal not only a false beard, but a pair of spectacles, a dog collar, and all the rest of his clerical paraphernalia, and also had a weapon with him, which he hit across the head. The governor was still concentrating on the last line of the German text. The word Neugraben troubled him. A prison was backed alongside, but the governor made no immediate move. He looked down again at the last line of German. To the Haddington roundabout, where you go straight over and make your way to Neugraben. Neugraben, where on earth? New something, new grave. Never heard of it. There was a war grave somewhere near Reading, but no, it was probably a code word or. And then it hit him. Newbury. God, yes, Newbury was a pretty big sort of place, but. So, children, the governor was still concentrating on the last line of the German text, the word Neugraben, which troubled him. It seemed to him that it is Newbury. And now there was confusion at where the events will go from Haddington. It was written Neugraben, but the governor understood it as Newbury. So that's all, children, in this part of the video. Rest part of the chapter will be continued in forthcoming video. Till then, thank you and goodbye.